Welcome again to Cottage Talk. I am Russ Goldman. Joining me right now is Giannis Shanaeus and Tony Gold. This is our post-match show of Fulham's 1-1 draw against Arsenal at Craven Cottage. Tony was there. Giannis and I watched it, so we will go through this in probably about the next hour. I look forward to getting their thoughts on this match. As always, I just want to mention that we do have a Cottage Talk Patreon page. If you're looking for extra content, please do check it out. All right. Guys, I look forward to getting your thoughts, but I have to go to the birthday boy. It's Giannis's birthday. So, Giannis, I want to wish you a happy birthday. And I want to get your opening thoughts on what we watched today.
Thank you, matey. Good point. Good point. I thought our shape was excellent. I thought we defended very well. We really restricted them to chances from set pieces. Arsenal didn't really create anything in 90 minutes, to be honest. They had the benefit of one VAR. One VAR went for us.
That's right.
And it's been, you'd have thought a bit of hesitation facing Tottenham, Brighton and Arsenal in 7 days, but we've come through with 5 points, and that was a good point today. And it's always lovely hearing Arteta moan on about how much better Arsenal are than us and all that nonsense.
Very good there. Giannis. Tony, I'll go to you. You were at the match. You and I talked about this before, that, and we'll talk about it during the show. You wanted to see a certain game plan from our manager. You saw that, and they actually executed, I thought, very well. So I want to get your opening thoughts on what you watched at Craven Cottage.
Yeah, look, I've heard a lot of fans moaning about the way that we set up and that the football was dull and boring. But ultimately, in order to get a result against a side like Arsenal, sometimes the football goes out the window and you have to be disciplined. I thought today was the best that Fulham have been in a long, long time out of possession of the football in terms of their shape, like Giannis just touched on. I thought our shape was absolutely magnificent today, and that was driven by two players in our side today. Lukic and Berger were absolutely immense. Off the ball, they were immense. Their positioning, how they broke up the play, made it very difficult. And look, you know what? Arteta came away very frustrated, and that was down to Fulham today because of the way that they played. It wasn't great to watch. Don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, in order to beat or get results against these sorts of sides, sometimes you need to set up a certain way, and Silva did that today.
Right, Tony. And like I said, you and I talked about it. I bet a lot of Arsenal supporters are wishing that we played it more open, right? But you know what? Why would you do that when you have the opportunity to play it the way that they did it, to try to get something out of it and potentially win it? And that's what Silva did today. Like you said, there might be Fulham supporters not happy with it not being a very good game of football from a Fulham perspective. But it's effective. Isn't that what's most important? Isn't it getting the points most important, Tony?
100%. You take a point before the game all day long. And as the game progressed, look, as I said, you have to play to your strengths. And at the moment, Fulham don't have the luxury like, City, Chelsea, Arsenal. We're getting there slowly but surely. But at the moment, against sides like that, you have to line up a certain way. And they did it. Everyone played their part. I'm sure we'll come on to individual players and talk about their performances, etc. But ultimately, in the main, Silva got the players doing their jobs today in order to get a result of some sort. And we got that. And that's all that matters at the end of the day.
Totally agree, Tony. That's why I wanted to just go back to that, because I understand, like I said, from an Arsenal perspective, why they're frustrated. But as a Fulham supporter, I have to actually respect how Silva approached this, because why would you, what I would think, bang your head against the wall to try to play a certain way that wasn't going to work against Arsenal? You have to play the way that you think is going to give you the best chance to win, not just get a draw, win. And I think he did that today. So I want to give him credit and say that I think that's a brave decision. And I think in a very good way, the players were brave. They actually, they worked their behinds off. And that to me is something that we should be discussing as a positive and not a negative. And that's going to lead me to go to section of the show that I've coined the good, the bad, and who won the coaching battle. So let's start with the good. And Tony, I'll go back to you and then I'll go to Giannis. I want to talk about a couple of players that I definitely want to put in the good category and really talk about it because you've already mentioned them. Let's talk about the difference of Berga and Lukic together and what that meant with what you saw today? Because they're definitely in the good category.
We would not have got that result today if those two hadn't played in there. It's as simple as that. That people don't realise what they give you off the ball. And also what they do when Arsenal were driving at us, the amount of times that they just managed to break up play, or they were in the right place at the right time, and just being that solidity in front of our back four, which at times I feel that we need, because sometimes, as you know, we've talked about this many times, as a collective, sometimes I don't think we defend as well as we should do. Like, we don't close the ball down quick enough. We don't get to players quick enough. And just having those two in there, and I said to you right at the beginning of the season, Berg is a player that needs to play minutes. He needs to play regularly in order to see the best of him. And now you're seeing, what we spent 20 million quid on. He's massive for us moving forward at the moment. So for me, those two were absolutely crucial in terms of, how we set up and structured the game as we went on.
Okay, Giannis, I want to get your thoughts on Berga and Lukic today.
Yeah, they were excellent. I mean, we obviously missed Sasha on Thursday night against Brighton. We had to rejig the lineup, but is anybody mentioning Palhinha? I mean,
I'm thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
The minute you said that, because these two players together, Giannis, maybe it takes two of them to fill that role, but they're filling it.
Yeah, Berger's been actually quietly impressive. I wasn't so sure when I saw him play at Sheffield United and Burnley, whether or not it was, he was a good player being masked by a poor side. It looks like you put him in a decent side and he is a good player. Lukic was his ever solid self. And Tony's right. They both worked their tails off in the game, and it was a tough old battle. It was a tough old battle, but the centre of the midfield is where we're going to win it. And of course, remembering we don't have Harrison Reed available at the moment, and we won't have for a while. We didn't have Tom Kearney through suspension, so it was critical that those two gentlemen that had good games in the centre of the park, kept things really solid, and they did that.
Okay, very good. Giannis, back over to you. Who else would you put in the good category?
I thought Jimenez was outstanding. And I think we're getting really good centre-forward play from Jimenez and Munoz right now. They're being total pests. And it's not even so much the goal that was scored. You look at their work rate off the ball. Going back to Thursday night, Munoz was an absolute pain in the you-know-what to the Brighton defenders. Raul was the same again tonight against Arsenal. And it's good to see. Again, is anybody mentioning Mitrovic? No, we've got centre forward play. We've got two pretty similar players that come in and really work the socks off. And their first touch is very good. Their hold up play is very, very good. And I've been really pleased recently with the way that both of them have been playing.
Okay, Tony, I want to get your thoughts on Jimenez. You and I talked about this before the match. That was probably the right decision to start him. I think it paid off.
Yeah, just because of his experience, Russ. I think he's better on the ball than Munoz. But, again, Giannis is absolutely right. Raul's, you cannot underestimate his performance today. Leading the line, defending from the front, took his goal absolutely brilliantly. I mean, that finish is absolute top-end class. I mean, absolute class. Look, I still think, and my feelings on this, I still think we're a centre-forward short. Top class centre forward short, but it gives us something different. I think we need a different option. But at the moment, you cannot knock either of them in terms of when they play, when they come in, the jobs that they're doing. And it's a tough old job. I think they've got the toughest job in the team. I really do. Working up there on your own, constantly chasing, running. It's not an easy thing to do. And they both doing it at the moment absolutely brilliantly. And I also think Leno deserves a mention as well.
Absolutely.
I thought, he took a lot of pressure off our back four today with his handling, with his distribution. He made a couple of, good saves when he needed to. So I think that he also needs a mention as well.
Okay. And that's going to lead me to come back to you because I'm going to share a couple comments from our friend Stefan. He says, we were compact and played as a group. No regrets. And another comment, I also thought our defense as a group were so compact and solid too, basically going along with that. So I'm going to put in the good category just defense in general, Tony, the way that they were set up and were difficult to break down. We can call it a low block, and it was. But you know what? They did what they had to. And it's funny because I know I was thinking about this because I know Arsenal supporters are probably complaining about how Fulham set up, and we were complaining how Brentford set up, right? The only thing is that I think this is a little bit different because I think Fulham's game plan was to do this from the get-go, where I don't know if Brentford's plan was to do that from the get-go. I could be wrong, but overall, just thoughts on the defense.
I've seen a vast improvement since prior to the Tottenham game. I was thinking that collectively we were still conceding very poor goals from a collective point of view. Silva's definitely been working on that. You can see that they've definitely improved. I mean, we're still obviously conceding goals, but it's only one goal a game at the moment. Whereas prior to that, the Wolves game was a travesty. That was a disaster. But I think that he has definitely been working with the players in training, and I can see that we're definitely improving in those areas because we do definitely. And I think Lukic and Berger have definitely got a role to play in that. I think they're giving us a bit more protection. We look a bit more solid. So yeah, there's definitely been an upshot in that.
Okay, Giannis, I want to go to you. I want to get your thoughts on how we are set up defensively. I'm glad that Tony mentioned Berger and Lukic being a part of that unit. What are your thoughts? What are you seeing?
I think just better shape. I mean, the Wolves, I was thinking about this last night, the Wolves game was, to me, an aberration. Because if you look at Wolves' results, I know they're playing the Spammers tomorrow, but that could be Gary O'Neill's last game in charge. They tore us apart really at the Cottage, and I wondered about that. I was like, post-international break, here we go, another nightmare. But since then, I think we've been set up really, really well. I thought we were very solid against Tottenham. Tottenham really didn't create a lot, but for a bit of luck, we might have won that. Against Brighton, he rang in the changes, and when you got players like Castagna that can come in, and actually come in and do a good job, that's always going to work with the 3 changes he made, and then the 4 changes today. He obviously set us up to try and go like for like, but try and hit him on the break. And an irony, where I thought their weakness was going to be was Kivior. And that's where they got caught on that left-hand side where they got a lovely goal by Jimenez. But defensively, we look a lot more sound right now. And I think that this bodes well because our games coming up are not easy. Let's not forget we've got Liverpool coming up next, and then Southampton, and then Chelsea, and then Bournemouth. And these aren't, even the Southampton game won't be easy. And so if with Liverpool coming up, we keep it nice and tight, keep it with this twin in the middle, until we get, Joachim back and Tom back and Harrison back. It bodes well for, defensively, our posture and our shape.
Okay, very good. All right. Guys, let's transition over to the bat, and then we'll go to the coaching battle. Tony, I'll go back to you. I thought a player that did not have a very good game was Adama Traore, which kind of surprised me. I want to get your thoughts on his performance.
Yeah, he looked like a player that hadn't played in a while. Russ today. That's basically the.
You think it was
line.
rust?
Yeah, definitely. I say it's always difficult for players to dip in and dip out. Players need a good run of consistent games in order to get confidence, consistency, and I think that the fact that he's been out of it for quite a while, to be thrown into that game, it especially against a team like Arsenal as well, when you're being asked to do a lot of stuff off the ball that he's probably not used to doing. I think it was a tough afternoon for him. His touch was all over the place. He didn't really get at players. He gave the ball away cheaply a number of times. And I just think and I'm a big fan of his. I know you. I just think today it just wasn't the game for him today. He struggled, especially from the a tactical point of view, which probably didn't help him. But yeah, I just think he struggled today.
I agree, Tony. Listen, there was an opportunity for him with a pass to Iwobi that he just didn't get right. And if he gets it right, Iwobi might be in. I mean, that's how crucial that opportunity was. But like you said, maybe it's rust. I want to get your thoughts, Giannis. Do you think it's rust like Tony thinks?
Yeah, I do think it was. I thought the bad was Emile Smith-Rowe. I thought I really wasn't.
You're leading me right there. Okay, go ahead.
No, I really wasn't. I think he's gone a bit off the ball the last 2-3 games. He would have been nervous for today's game. it's against his old club, I understand, but he sort of looked a little bit lost. I think Harry Wilson is a lot unlucky not to be starting right now. Smith Rowe, he's riding the tails with the fact that he didn't play a lot of footy last year, and he's giving him some time, and that's fine. I do think, though, that he disappointed us today. Traore did look off the pace as well. I agree. He did look a little somewhat rusty. Those are the two players that, for me, had off games. There wasn't anybody else that played badly at all. I think everybody else played pretty well.
I totally agree. Over to you, Tony, on Smith Rowe. He did have that opportunity, and it was just a bad touch.
Yeah, look, you know what? He was unlucky in that situation. That happens, unfortunately. Look, I think the reason why we're getting a little bit frustrated with Smith Rowe is because of the price tag that's come with him, the expectation, you know, and looking back at what he did in that season with Arsenal when he was fit and healthy. I think with him, we just need to be patient, and we just need to, you know, give him the chance. I do think Yanis is right. I think he still needs to work a bit harder off the ball. And I'm sure Silva is on at him, and I'm sure that's something that he will improve as time goes on. He's right. He would have been nervous today's game, given everything, you know, what was going on. I thought, you know, he was bright in some parts of the game, but as I say, in games like that, you need your best players to be absolutely buzzing and on top of it, and he just wasn't. He went hiding. He never, and I think it's a tough game as well to come into the way I say that we set up, the way that Arsenal played. That's just not going to work for Smith Rowe in a game like that. The other bad that I want to talk about, Russell, and I want to come on to, is our setup from corners.
Oh,
today
we could solely talk about that. Go ahead.
You know, I thought after the first 4 or 5 corners that Arsenal took, I cannot understand why Silva has set us up zonally when Arsenal have got 6 players or 5 players at the back post. And he should have learnt the lesson on the first 4 or 5 deliveries when they came in. We should have gone man for man, and we should have dealt with that, and it should have been much easier, and we would not have conceded that goal had we been man for man. And that bloody zonal marking cost us that goal, and it should have been identified at half-time, and it should have been dealt with.
Very interesting. I want to go to you, Giannis. I want to get your thoughts on this. One thing I want to mention, and they said this during the broadcast, that was the first corner out of all those corners that Arsenal took that they went for the back post, that they changed it up. They were doing all of the front post. So they basically caught Fulham, I guess you could say, with their pants down, and that's where that came from. So I want to get your thoughts on what Tony's talking about, the difference between man marking and zonal marking.
Yeah, that was an unfortunate goal. I was screaming at the box when I saw that. I'm not going to give Arsenal as much credit as everybody else wants to give them about their set piece prowess. I think a lot of the problems has not been defenders; it's actually been goalkeepers. Goalkeepers have to command their boxes. It's that simple. Declan Rice's delivery is very, very good, but there's been an element of luck with it, and you saw even with the goal that they scored today. We thought we'd be too cute by going near post, and then they nick one far post, and then they get us. Yeah, I mean, Tony's right. It should have been identified. It's an annoying goal to concede because you could see from the game, really, it was the only way they were going to create was from a set piece. They didn't do anything really from open play.
Absolutely, Giannis. I'm glad that we're talking about this because I'm sorry to interrupt. When you look at the overall match and you look at Arsenal in general, if they want to win the title, if they want to really compete for this title, they're going to have to score more from open play, Giannis.
Yeah.
Because they cannot continue just to have it be about these set pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. That they'll play better teams. They'll play better teams than us, and who will create more in open play than we did. And we didn't create many chances, but that was the game plan all along. You know, we just see what we could do. Arsenal can moan and groan all they want about the possession they had. They can moan and groan all they want about the injuries that they've got. But we've got casualties as well. And
That's right.
We do the best of what we can. And I think a lot of it is it's because it's little old Fulham. You know, it's you can see it now when we play Southampton. Oh, this is a game that's winnable for Southampton, even though the Buggers have got 5 points.
That's right.
5 lousy points at the bottom of the table, and I'm fed up of it. We went to Tottenham, and they're expected to win. No, we could have won that against Brighton, a very good side. Don't get me wrong. With changes, we beat them. And today, just for what was it, the leg of the leg of Robinson.
That's right. That's all it was.
That's all it was. So yeah, it's a big league. Even the commentary, it was it's big league. It's they should have won, and I don't give a bollocks. I don't care. I'm sick of it. I think it's funny when teams like us and Bournemouth. I'm going to use Bournemouth here as well. When
right,
teams
they're
like
doing great.
And Forest are going out upsetting the big guns. I think it's great for football when teams like us three do that and shuttle the other, the big six up about what they could and should and would have. It doesn't. This is a different division this year,
right.
and we're 10th, and yet we've got 23 points, which is fabulous.
I think it's great, Giannis, and to be honest with you, I think that there's a lot more good to come. And Stefan has a very interesting comment. And Stefan, if you're listening and watching live, I'll get to that when we talk about at the end of the show, because I definitely want to talk about the Calvin Bassey situation being suspended for the next match, but I want to get to that at the end. So thank you for sharing that. Let's talk about the coaching battle, Tony. You and I talk about this each and every week. We do a player rating show. We talk about the job of Marco. We rate him. Now, we've have several matches between these two managers now. There's now, I guess you could say, a blueprint on how both clubs are going to play this. I think Marco continues to win this battle. I think he won it today. I think he set Fulham up, and I don't know if Arteta really had any answers. I think what ends up happening is that they just keep doing what they're doing, and eventually they feel that they're going to get the equalizer and the winner. But do they really change things? And I think in this situation, Marco won the coaching battle. Do you agree with me?
In our last 3 meetings with Arsenal, Russ, we've taken 7 points off them. That tells you everything you need to know in terms of our progression. Listen, I'll tell you straight now, Arsenal are not winning the title. Not a chance in hell they win in the title. And you saw that today. They've got the same problem that we've got in some regards.
Yeah, they do.
They don't have a forward. Havertz isn't good enough. I don't care what anybody says. And, Arteta now, what annoys me, right, is Arsenal make such a big thing about having a set-piece coach. All this nonsense, right? Fulham should have defended that better. Silva should have identified it at half-time. He should have gone man for man. As simple as that. No one's going to tell me any different. Football is not rocket science. If you're leaving 5 players at the back post who are going to get a run on your defenders every time, they are going to be a threat. But if you've got people marking them, man to man, touch tight, that ain't happening. And then, Giannis is right. Then your goalkeeper comes out and clears everything and wins that ball. And that's something that needs to be addressed. Arsenal not winning anything this year. Marco Silva got his tactics absolutely spot on. And bar that goal that we conceded, we would have won the game. Hands down, we would have. And Arsenal can have all the possession in front of us. Silva set us up. The players played out of their skin. Every single one of them contributed to that, getting that result today. They were disciplined. They were resilient. They were focused. We didn't make any silly mistakes. We cleared our lines when we needed to clear. We hit them on the count. We got the goal that we wanted. And we did everything that we needed to do. So as far as I'm concerned, Silva set us up in the way to get a result. And all right, it wasn't 3 points, but we still got a very, very valuable point.
Totally agree, Tony. Over to you, Giannis. Do you agree with us on the coaching battle?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think Arteta had a plan B.
He doesn't have a plan B, Giannis.
No, he doesn't have a plan B. He doesn't. And I sort of had a laugh when I saw the selection. You're going to pick Trossard over Martinelli. I mean, we know what Trossard can do off the bench, but you decide that Martinelli gets to sit on the bench. I know they've had some issues at the back, but look, you got Jorginho, Odegaard, and Rice in the middle. You can't argue about that three. You got Saka and Havertz up front. You can't argue about that. You still got Raya in there, even though Joe Bryan would think otherwise. I will. I'm sorry, but Raya can win 10 World Cups.
I think of Joe Bryan every time I see that guy. I do.
Absolutely, yeah. Good old Joe Bryan. What a genius free kick that was. But they've got good players on the bench. Let's not forget they had the players like Marino and they got Sterling and Gabriel Jesus came off as well, and obviously Martinelli. You got players there that can come off and create problems. But Arsenal fans can tend to be whiners and reflective of their coach, and the coach seems to think that the light shines out of his you-know-what, and that the world needs to bow to them. The fact of the matter is, we did what a lot of lesser light teams would want to do. And don't forget, Arsenal have lost to Bournemouth as well this year. So you've got there's a few teams like the three of us. I'm going to use the three of us as examples: us, Bournemouth, and Forest. Where I get the sense now we don't care. We're not afraid of you.
No.
Go to Old Trafford, we'll beat you. Go to the Emirates, we'll beat you. Doesn't matter. You do what you want, and we'll do what we want. And just because we have a ground like Bournemouth or 11,000, or Forest City ground only has 30,000 or whatever it is, or Fulham has 30,000, we're not going to care. So, but back to the original premise, coaching battle, absolutely, Marco. But of course, you know that Mikel would disagree vehemently with that.
Well, he can disagree all he wants. I think it's pretty easy decision. This is all about Marco Silva. Okay, guys, let's move on. Let's talk about the starting 11. And I was very much looking forward to this. I actually decided to do a little 5-minute video talking about the starting 11 and also talking about the starting 11 for Arsenal and who was on their bench and who didn't play. And I had a feeling that if two of their defenders didn't play, that it would be a little bit of an advantage for Fulham, and it probably was. But Giannis, I'll go to you first. What were your thoughts when you saw Fulham starting 11, their bench, and also Arsenal's?
Well, the Fulham one, I thought, as mentioned earlier, I thought Harry Wilson was unlucky not to start. I might have started Iwobi in the middle and stuck Wilson out wide. I think that, yes, Smith Rowe needs time. Traore could be considering himself unlucky to be dropped in the first place. But I thought it was a functional 11. And the big thing, too, for me was Sander and Sasha.
Yes.
They were back together again, and that was going to be important. And I thought on that tight pitch at the Cottage, we've always got a chance with the lineup that we've got. In terms of the bench players that we had, no secrets there, although there's one player that will come into focus, even though he didn't come off the bench, and that's Jorge Cuenca.
Yeah.
Because Cuenca is now looks like the person who may have to come in for Bassi.
That's right.
Because you now got Diop, and you've obviously got no Joachim, and you're not going to have Bassi for Liverpool. As for Arsenal, really, as expected, the only change I might have made is Martinelli to come for Trossard. I'm not a huge fan of Trossard. I'm going to be honest. He scores goals, yes, but to me, he's a super sub. He doesn't frighten me half as much when he starts. And again, today, I thought he was somewhat anonymous. Martinelli caused more problems when he came off the bench. And as I mentioned earlier, off the bench, if you've got players like Raheem Sterling with the ability to come off, then that should tell you something about your bench.
Okay, very good there, Giannis. Okay. Over to you, Tony. You and I talked about this before the match when we saw the starting 11, so I know your thoughts. Share them, please.
Yeah, it was the starting 11 I expected. Obviously, Nelson was injured now, but he wouldn't have been able to play, so he would have been up there, and Anderson obviously would have been another one. But look, ultimately, that was in my opinion, that was our strongest 11 to go out and play. I think Giannis is right. Traore has been unlucky. I don't know what the issue was. Maybe, as I say, maybe he wanted to freshen it up and give Nelson a chance. And they're two very different players in the way that they, approach the game. But ultimately, as I say, it's just unfortunately two of those players didn't really perform to the levels that we know that they can. And had they done so, we might have got a little bit more, going forward or getting out of the game. But again, I just think it's the way that Silva wanted us to play today. He wanted us to be disciplined. He wanted players to be a little bit more conservative in the way that they played. And so ultimately, something had to give in maybe a couple of performances in that regard. So, yeah, ultimately, I wasn't disappointed with that starting 11 at all.
Okay, excellent. And I was right there with you with the starting 11. Okay, coming up next, we're going to break down both halves, and we'll end with man of the match. Okay, guys, let's get to it. Let's get to the first half analysis. And Arsenal came out strong for probably the first 9 to 10 minutes, and They looked like they were going to control the play, which they did. But as we were talking during the show, there was also a game plan involved that Fulham were going to play a certain way, and it was playing itself out. And I actually said in my preview that's on the Cottage Talk Patreon page that a key to victory for me was going to be beating Arsenal on the counter. And this is exactly what happened. And Tony, you were there, so I'll go to you. I want to get your thoughts on how Fulham got the goal.
Well, look, they had to be patient. They started the work ethic and discipline off the ball in that first 15, 20 minutes was unbelievable. Arsenal had all the possession. They were playing, in front of us all the time, going backwards and forwards, left and right, trying to get through us, but they couldn't break us down. And then obviously we win the ball. Don't underestimate that pass from Tete, by the way.
Fantastic.
What an unbelievable pass. And then, the movement from Raul to get into that position, to cut across, and Yanis has already touched on it. Their weak spot, Arsenal, was a centre half coming in, hasn't really played, but the finish was sublime. Absolute quality finish, and it almost took Arsenal by, stunned them, because they're like, we've had the ball for 20 minutes. Fulham have done nothing, and suddenly we're 1-0 up. It was madness. That's normally happens against us. That's normally something that happens to us. So it was a bit of like, wow. But yeah, no, I mean, as I say, our discipline off the ball in terms of our shape, our work ethic, our resilience, every player deserves, full kudos for that.
Okay, excellent. Giannis, over to you. After we score the goal, let's be honest, then you had a long spell where Arsenal had the ball, were controlling the play, but were they really creating much at this point? They had their corners, and we've already touched on that. We also had, I thought, a potentially very good opportunity from Emile Smith-Rowe, which didn't come off. There was that situation that I had mentioned earlier where Adama Traore had a pass. If he got Iwobi might have been in. That's how good of a potential opportunity. The way Fulham were playing, they weren't going to get many opportunities. But they saw the half out. I just want to get your view overall of what you saw after the goal.
Well, they put us under the cosh, right? But they didn't really create anything. It almost looked like they were going to rely on the set piece. I'm wondering if this has got into their psyche right now. That everybody's telling us how great we are at set pieces, corner kicks. We score from corner kicks. Let's get corner kicks and let's score from corner kicks. They had lots and lots of possession. They did lots of passing in pretty little patterns, but they didn't trouble Leno. They really didn't, and that's the key. I was sitting down with the missus, and I said that it was about half an hour in. I said the only way they're going to score is a corner.
Yeah,
I can't see them creating anything but, and it was annoying when it happened, really, because it was preventable. But at the same time, it tells you how good our shape was, that they really didn't look like they were going to prize us open. It'll be good practice for Liverpool, because the Liverpool game will be very similar, a little different in a couple of respects. But if we can play like this against Liverpool at Anfield, we're going to give ourselves a chance. We're going to make things difficult, and I think it's all about discipline of position and discipline of shape, and just restricting chances in terms of open play. And really, they didn't create a lot from open play.
Okay, very good. I'm going to share this comment from Stefan. Says, after we scored, we absorbed the pressure through discipline and cohesive defending. And I think that's the best way to look at it. Tony, you watched it. Obviously, you were there. What are your thoughts on how Fulham defended in that first half? And what were you thinking as we got to the end of the half?
Like I said, Arsenal couldn't penetrate us. However much they tried to play the intricate passing in between, we kept their big players quiet. Robinson hopefully will let Saka out of his pocket tonight when he gets home. Hopefully he'll let him go, because to be honest with you, he defended him brilliantly the whole game. He rarely had maybe one or two little opportunities, but in the main, he kept him very quiet. Odegaard, we kept quiet. We kept him out, didn't let him play those intricate passes around our 18-yard box.
He tried.
They tried, but, we were solid. I think Diop, however much criticism he's got in the past, he's come in and actually he's been faultless, really. And I don't want to put the bockers on him because he's done well. And I know we've got Liverpool coming up next week, and he's going to be in there probably with another player, and that's going to change the dynamic a little bit. But
yeah,
look, in the 3 games that he's come in, Russ, he's been superb. Him and Bassey have been rock solid. So look, they couldn't break us down. And at the end of the day, it's like Silva said, we're setting up like this. Come on, come and break us down. Come and do it. And they couldn't.
No, they definitely could not. And that's a good point. I want to share this from our friend Ross. He says, Diop was very good today, in my opinion. And I think we're all in agreement that he played solid. He just doesn't have, it's funny, Tony, the one thing that he doesn't have, he doesn't have that ball, that ability to pass like Anderson. But he's doing the defending very well.
Yeah, but you want your players to play to their strengths, Russ.
Yeah.
And Diop's strengths are win your headers, win your tackles, don't try and be fancy playing out the back. And that's what he's done. Anderson's a slightly different centre-half. And I think maybe that's one of the reasons why we're inviting a little bit more pressure when he's playing in there, because Anderson isn't that sort of defender. Anderson likes to be the sort of, Baresi style centre-half, get on the ball, look good on it, pass it, play. Diop, no nonsense. Win your headers, win your tackles, nice and strong. And that's what he's given us.
Interesting.
And so that's why we're doing all right.
No, very good. I'm going to share this comment from John Coombs. It says, Sasa Lukic did a great man marking on Martin Odegaard. Both center midfielders were immense today. Tony, I think you would agree with that.
Yeah, we've already touched on that, and as I said, they were the catalyst of, they gave you the backbone there to make it very difficult for Arsenal to break through, and when they did, then our defense was in.
Okay, very good. All right, guys, let's transition to the second half, and it began similar to the first half where you have Arsenal controlling the play, and now you get the Arsenal equalizer from a corner. We've already touched on different types of corners that they did, and this was their first far post corner that they did. And Giannis, I want to get your thoughts on this. And you've already mentioned this, but if Jedi's leg is not there, if he moved up closer to where his other teammates were, it was equal with his other teammates, this goal is offside. It was close because this went to VAR. At first glance, I thought it was offside, but then we got another angle of it, and you could see Jedi's leg. What are your thoughts about the equalizer for Arsenal?
It was unfortunate, but with VAR, firstly, it was annoying because we vowed we wouldn't try not to concede from a corner kick, and the buggers went and did it. But with VAR, at least I'm all for let's make the right call. His leg it did have him onside, so it was the right call for the goal stand. And there we have it. The only chance they were going to create really wasn't going to be from open play. It was going to be from a corner kick, and bang, it's in the back of the net. I think most pundits would have said, "Well, okay, now we're going to go and lose." But this is a test of the resilience of this team right now. That we didn't let our heads dropped. We stayed focused and in shape, and it's a very, very good point. It's one we could really. It's one we can use and take with confidence for the Liverpool game, and it shows the rest of the league exactly what we're capable of. And I think they're going to need to take notice, especially teams that go to the Emirates, where they're going to create chances are going to be from corner kicks. So I know sometimes it's unavoidable, but as much as your teams possibly can, avoid conceding corner kicks, because they're as they've shown with this. The stats, they're lethal at the moment.
Okay, very good. All right. I'm going to throw in another topic as we're talking about this because I can see some of the comments talking about the ref. So, Tony, I want to get your thoughts. The ref in the beginning, and he has a history with both clubs. He does. He's got a bad history with both. But he was letting a lot of stuff go, and then things were happening during the match. I'm curious your thoughts on Kavanaugh during this match.
I'm not a big Chris Kavanagh fan for obvious reasons, but to be perfectly honest, I thought he managed the game relatively well today, to be honest. It's always easy to blame the ref and to blame this and to blame that. Ultimately, the ref can't do anything about VAR decisions. That once it's gone there, you know what's happening. I think just touching on a little bit more to what Giannis has already said about the corner,
Yep.
is that, we've conceded 6 corners to Arsenal. You know how dangerous they are. And he's right. You've got to prevent those corners from happening, because it's inevitable that one of those corners eventually is going to end up in the back of our net. And
Right.
unfortunately it did. But I'll say it again. Had we been man marking at that corner, had every Arsenal player been man marked and us not zonal marking, I'm pretty sure that we would have defended that and got that ball out, and it would never have ended up where it did. That's obviously hindsight. My opinion, we'll never know. But I genuinely believe if we'd gone to a man marking system at that point, that goal could have been avoided.
Okay. Very good there, Tony. Thank you for sharing that. Right back to you. I want to get your thoughts on the substitutions. And because actually Pereira comes on, Tony, and has Fulham's only real chance in the second half. So I want to get your thoughts on the substitutions that Silva made here.
Yeah, I think the Pereira sub was the right one, to be honest. Smith Rowe had run his race. He wasn't effective. I think Silva gave him a bit of time to try and maybe get a bit more into it second half. It just wasn't happening for him. He did his job as best he could, get him off, get Pereira on, who we know when he comes into that position, the one thing he will give you is he'll press down and work hard. I think he did that. Muniz, again, I think it was the right call. Raul had run himself into the ground, given everything. And you know what Muniz is going to be. He's like that pesky fly.
Yeah.
He doesn't leave you alone. He works hard. He battles. So in the main, I think, the subs were pretty much spot on. Wilson also coming on for Traore. I think, that was a no-brainer at that particular point. So in the main, I think he's made the right decisions.
Okay, very good. All right. Giannis, back over to you. So now we go further into the second half, and now we're going to get to talking about the disallowed goal for Arsenal. So I've seen and I've watched and listened to a lot of commentary already about this. This was the right call. Like we talked about at the beginning of the show. One went for Fulham, one went for Arsenal. This one went for Fulham, and it was the right call. I watched it back. Martinelli is in an offside position. It was the right decision, regardless of what you might hear from our Arsenal supporters or Arsenal themselves. It was the right call. They know it's the right call. It's probably frustrating for them, but this was the right call. Giannis, your thoughts?
Yep. And that's all we want from VAR. We want consistency, and we want it to be the correct call, and it was the correct call. Arsenal can say whatever they want. I mean, if you look at the build-up to the play, was Martinelli. It was rather lazy running from Martinelli there. Busy as I was lauding him coming on for Trossard. But he was offside in the build-up, and that's how it goes. It was a relief because I sat there and went, oh, no, we can't be losing this lot. We worked so hard.
I know.
On and off the ball. Let's get a point out of this. Let's show some tangible evidence that we've had a really, really good game, and we got the fortune there. So pleased about that. And Tony said something earlier about Arsenal deluding themselves if they're going to win the title. They're not winning the title. This is Liverpool's year to win it. I can't see anyone. I can't really see anyone coming close. I think City are struggling, and I think there's something more to their malaise at the moment. And with Arsenal, there's going to come a time where they just can't. You can't score from corners every game. It's just not possible. And they're going to come to a point where against United, they got away with it in the week, but they're not going to be able to get away with it for too long. And that's the way it is. Teams are going to suss them out, and they're probably going to. I can see them finishing second or third. They just don't have the firepower to break teams down. And if they can't do it to us, then the top teams that they play, they won't be able to either.
Okay, very good. All right. One more topic I want to talk about in the second half, because it is going to affect Fulham going into the Liverpool match, Tony. We've already touched on it a little bit. And my friend Chris is going to be jumping as he did on full time, because we're going to be talking about Calvin Bassey being suspended for the Liverpool match and what a blow that is for Fulham. However, I've heard a lot of talk from Silva about Jorge Cuenca and what he could offer. He just hasn't had his opportunity. Well, Tony, he's going to be thrown into the fire going to Anfield, it looks like. I have a feeling it's going to be him and Diop. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, unless Anderson makes a miraculous recovery, I don't think he's got many other options. The problem with it's a big blow having Bassi out for that game. Really, it's a big blow. You cannot underestimate that. Look, I haven't seen enough of Cuenca to really form a really valid opinion on him at the moment. The trouble is that he hasn't played. Russ, he's played very, very limited football. You're now throwing him into a game probably against the best three forward players in the league.
Yeah.
It's a big ask. It's a big ask. Look, it's Liverpool's title to lose from this place on. Let's make no bones about that.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a very, very tough. If we get anything out of the game next week, it'll be an unbelievable result. Let's have it.
I totally agree with that, Tony.
It's a big ask. But look, stranger things have happened. Liverpool can have an off day. Anything's possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't see, unless he's got a magical thing up his sleeve, I don't see it being anything other than Cuenca and Diop, to be honest.
Yeah. Over to you, Giannis. What are your thoughts about the situation with Bassi being out?
Well, Cuenca would be seen to be number one choice to come into play with Diop. The other option could be to bring Sander Berger and pull him back, although that would be a mighty risk. Cuenca's played at the back. Cuenca played over 40 games last year in Spanish Premier Division. So I trust him to come in and do a job. And I'm sure that the club will fix up an under 23 fixture this week with Cuenca playing Monday, Tuesday, or whatever. Give him 60, 70, 80 minutes of time. The club isn't silly like that. So we may think he's going to be cold, but he'll have got some time. Not against the big boys, but he'll got some time. I thought the Bassi, going back to Kavanagh, I thought the Bassi challenge was never a yellow, and in the same way that Martinelli threw the ball at the back of Tete.
I was going to mention that. Yeah,
and apparently that wasn't a yellow card. I mean, if you're going to be, all I want from a ref is consistency.
Consistent, right?
That's all I want. Just in 9 times out of 10, that's a yellow card. He's on a yellow, then he gets a red. That's it. That's simple. But he doesn't give it. So that was unfortunate. Lukic got yellow today for a nothing challenge.
That's right.
Nothing challenge. Like, what is it? Is he the new Palhinha now? He touches a player and you give him a yellow? And it's annoying. There's no consistency. Lukic was smiling at the ref, going, "You're having a laugh," and it's at my expense. Because that's now 6 yellow cards I've had. That annoys me.
I'm there with you, Giannis. Okay. To end the show, guys, let's talk about man of the match. If you're watching live, feel free to share who was your man of the match. I did this on full time, so I definitely want to get your thoughts on who was man of the match. Tony, I'll go to you first. Who's your man of the match?
I can't separate them out, to be honest with you, so I've got 2.
Okay.
Berger and Lukic, to me today, were both colossal in there, and they both deserve as much credit as each other. Okay, very good. Giannis, who's your man of the match?
I'm going to go left field here. I'm going to give it to Issa Diop.
Wow. Okay.
I thought he was solid as a pound. He's every time that we've had an injury at the back, we've gone, "Oh, Diop's got to come in," but Diop's not let us down. He's one thing I do like about him is how verbal he is with the rest of the back three in the midfield. I thought he was very, very solid today, and it's good that he's been solid, because without Joachim, it might be, we may not have him back for. Hopefully we could get him back for Southampton. So that's 2 weeks. 2 weeks today, but we may not get him back until the Chelsea game. So we don't have that much cover there. So it's good that Diop's played well, and I thought he had a very good game today. But mentions to Berger and Lukic, I thought were immense as well today. Yeah, definitely. Very good there, guys. Okay, so I'm going to go with Sander Berge. I could do what Tony just did, but I want to really single out this player simply because I have been one that I went on this show. I interviewed a podcaster that covers Burnley, and he's telling me he can't play this role, and you shouldn't play him as your number 6. He's not going to work out for you. And it's been proven to be wrong, because he can play that role. And it goes back to Tony telling me, "Russ, just give him time. He needs time in this system." And Tony, you turned out to be right. I want to give this solely to Berge, but I
do understand why many are giving it to both as a unit. I totally understand that. So I'm going with Berger though. We got Ross. He says Berger. Let's see what else we got here. Carl says Leno for me. My friend Stefan says man of the match, the whole team with Silva. And Chris Goodwin says joint man of the match going with Tony, Berger, and Lukic. Very good. Okay. Guys, fantastic show as always. It's always fun to do it with the two of you. It's just been a great show. It's funny because I was hoping it would be after victory, but Tony, why does it feel like a victory? It's not, but it feels pretty good that we got a point from Arsenal.
Because it's a great point. Any point against the top 3 or 4 is always a good point. And it shows how far we've come, Russ. I think it shows how far we're becoming under Silva with a bit more time and the bit more quality that he keeps adding, season upon season. If we can have a good January and bring in a couple of, really solid players. I don't mean panic buys. I mean really good couple of solid players. We're on the right trajectory. We really are. We've just got to keep that consistency and the next few games, like Yanis has already said, are really important. They're not easy games. No. And we've got to get a minimum of 5 points out of our next 3 games, like we've shown here, to stay with the pace and to stay up. But Fulham are going to have to find a way. They're going to have to find a way because they're 3 very different games, very, very different games that are going to have to be approached in a very different way.
I totally agree. And my friend Chris is already talking about the Liverpool game from his perspective. Yes, I know, Chris. We'll talk about that coming up. Giannis, over to you. Final thoughts before we go.
Yeah, very pleased with the point. I really, really am. It was I'd have taken the point beforehand. I had a feeling that we might get a point, and I think our shape and vim and vigor that we approached the game merited the fact that we got a point. So it was. I know the rest of the media will talk about 2 points lost. For us, it's a point gained and a good point, and it shows that we're right amongst the thick of things and playing well. And occasionally, it'd be good if opposing coaches turn around and go, well, we came up against a team that was better organised than us, that played well in front of their fans. Yeah. There's a thought. But who needs that, right?
Okay, Tony, over to you. Get your final thoughts before we take off here.
You'll never get that out of Arteta. I'll tell you that for nothing.
No,
he's an absolute joker. But anyway, Yanis is right. Look, we've got to be. We've had so many seasons upon seasons where we've had lulls and dips and ups and downs. Do you know what's so nice about watching Fulham at the moment? We've just seemed to have hit a bit of consistency, and it's good to see us playing. Playing some good football at times, and being. Playing with no fear, I think, is, being brave in certain areas. We haven't had that for a long time. And long may it continue. I say next week's going to be tough. Liverpool's going to be, tough. And actually, I think we'll find out a lot about ourselves next week in terms of, certain players and stuff like that. It's the sort of game that you want Smith Rowe to step up to and show what he's about. So, yeah, look, it's exciting and we're in the mix. And that's a good place to be coming up to Christmas.
Well, I'm glad that you said that. Before we go, I want to get your thoughts on all of this. You guys both have been watching Fulham for longer than myself. This season feels a little bit different, Tony, and then I'll go to Giannis. It feels like we're really building something. Would you agree? Do you see something different?
I see, we've got better players, Russ. We've got better players. It's as simple as that. We've got strength in areas that we haven't had strength for a while, even with the loss of Mitrovic and Polina. And I'll go again. Look, those guys were individuals. They weren't team players.
No, they
weren't team players. Silva has got a team. He's got a collective group of players now. He's playing to their strengths. They're bringing it every week. Iwobi's playing the best football of his career, right? We've got one of the best goalkeepers in the league, bar none. And we are doing well. And what he's got to do now is, and the Khans have got to back him, we've got to continue to strengthen, and we've got to get a little bit more depth, and we've got to get, a couple more gems in certain areas, and we're going to be in a really good place. Really good place.
Okay, very good. Giannis, over to you.
That, of course, means no Floyd Ayite.
Oh, I can't go a show without you mentioning Floyd Ayite. No Floyd Ayite. That's the difference, Giannis.
Yes. We don't know.
No more Floyd Ayite. No. And we've got to hold on to Robertson at all costs.
Yes. Yes, he's well. I mean, some of the figures being moved about 40, 50 million. Do me a favor. Superb left back.
Double that. Double that, Giannis.
And then some. We don't.
100%.
How about we do this? We don't sell him.
Correct.
See,
Don't sell
I'm
him.
there with you.
Correct.
Sorry, Chris, our Liverpool supporter here.
You can't have him.
Can't sell him. We can't sell him. We
No,
can't
there's
sell
just
him.
no way. You can't. How do you replace him?
You can't.
No,
You can't.
he's too important. He's too good a player, and he's gonna get better and better. He's someone who's got better with time. This is where his exposure to the US team has been tremendous for him. Absolutely tremendous.
I agree. And honestly, Giannis, before we go, I think him playing under Pochettino is going to help Fulham.
Yes, I agree. And long may it be so. So, sorry, Chris, he's not going anywhere, mate. You're not going to get to do to him like you've done to some of our other players.
Okay, like Fabio, right? We're going to go to Fabio.
Like Fabio, yeah. We're going to Fabio.
Okay. Harvey Elliott worked out for them, but not Fabio.
No, little Fabio playing for the Bus Stop Boys.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for doing the show. This is actually the third show I've done today. I'm being a little bit of a crazy person doing Cottage Talk, but you guys know I love it. And I just want to thank everyone that watches and listens to it because it means a lot to me and that I get to do it with such great people like Giannis and Tony, of course, Max earlier too. I'm very fortunate to do Cottage Talk, and I'm getting a little emotional. I just want to say thank you to everyone that supports this show. I really appreciate it. And that's the way I'm going to end this. For Tony Gold, Yash I'm Russ Goldman. Thank you as always for watching and listening to Cottage Talk, part of the Talk Sport Fan Network.